Herc 916. Positivity, motivation. Never settle for average. Go pick up a hat at bigherc916.com and wash that ass. Cause I know some of you guys out there are funky. On the real though, I wanted to share some interesting statistics with you guys. And this video is reference to fatherless homes in America, something that they don't like to talk about on mainstream media, but it's a very important factor in raising a child, whether it's a young man or a young woman. It says here, in the United States, there are more than 64 million men who identify themselves as being a father. Out of the figure, only 26.5 million men are part of the home where they are married to a spouse and have children under the age of 18 living there. The U.S. Census Bureau reports that 22% of the fathers are raising 3+ children under the age of 18, with all of them being their biological relative. Only 2% of the fathers raising children are living in the home of a relative unrelated individual. There are 2.5 million fathers who are on their own in a single parent household. In 1970, there were only 400,000 fathers in this situation. 18% of the single parent households recognized by the U.S. Census Bureau are headed by a single father. 18%. Fathers are important. Unfortunately, fathers are not always there. These statistics on fatherless homes show why it is important, even as a single parent, for a father to stick around. Statistics about fatherless homes. 85% of youth who are currently in prison grew up in a fatherless home. Texas Department of Corrections. 7 out of every 10 youth that are housed in state-operated correctional facilities, including detention and residential treatment, come from a fatherless home. U.S. Department of Justice. 39% of students in the United States from the first grade to their senior year of high school do not have a father at home. Children without a father are 4 times more likely to be living in poverty than children with father. National Public Radio. Children from fatherless homes are twice as likely to drop out from school before graduating than children who have a father in their lives. National Public Radio. 24.7 million children in the United States live in a home where their biological father is not present. That equates to 1 in every 3 children in the United States not having access to their father. National Public Radio. And when I say National Public Radio, that's where the source is coming from. Girls who live in a fatherless home have a 100% higher risk of suffering from obesity than girls who have their father present. Teen girls from fatherless homes are 4 times more likely to become mothers before the age of 20. National Public Radio. 57% of fatherless homes in the United States involved African American Black households. 57%. Hispanic households have 31% fatherless rate, while Caucasian white households have 20% fatherless rate. National Public Radio. In 2011, 44% of children in homes headed by a single mother were living in poverty. Just 12% of children in married couple families were living in poverty. U.S. Census Bureau. Children who live in a single-parent home are more than 2 times more likely to commit suicide than children in a 2-parent household. Did you get that one? Children who live in a single-parent home are more than 2 times more likely to commit suicide than children in a 2-parent home. The Lancet. 72% of Americans believe that a fatherless home is the most significant social problem and family problem that is facing their country. National Center for Fathering. Only 68% of children will spend their entire childhood with an intact family. U.S. Census Bureau. 75% of rapists are motivated by displaced anger that is associated with feelings of abandonment that involves their father. U.S. Department of Justice. Living in a fatherless home is a contributing factor to substance abuse, with children from such homes accounting for 75% of adolescent patients being treated in substance abuse centers. U.S. Department of Justice. 85% of all children which exhibit some type of behavioral disorder come from fatherless home. U.S. Department of Justice. 90% of the youth in the United States who have decided to run away from home or become homeless for any reason originally come from a fatherless home. U.S. Department of Justice. 63% of youth suicides involve a child who was living in a fatherless home when they made their final decision. U.S. Department of Justice. Children who live in a single-parent, step-family home report less schoolwork, monitoring, less social supervision, and lower educational expectations than children who come from two-parent homes. American Sociological Review. Even when poverty levels are equal, children who come from a two-parent home outperform children who come from one-parent home. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Within the African American community, Black community, about 2.5 million fathers live with their children, while 1.7 million fathers are not living with them. Huffington Post. In a 2014 study, only 3% of single mothers fell into the strongest demographic groups, while 44% fell into the weakest demographic groups. Brookings. About 40% of children in the United States are born to mothers who are not married. Over 60% of these children were born to mothers who were under the age of 30%. CDC. 25% of children are the age of 18 are currently being raised without the presence of a father. Around 50% of the single mothers have never married. 29% are divorced. Only 1 in 5 are either separated or widowed. In single mother households, 50% involve just one child. 30% of single mothers are raising 2 children on their own. U.S. Census Bureau. 27% of single mothers were jobless for the entire year while taking care of their children. Only 22% of those were out of work were receiving unemployment benefits at the time. U.S. Census Bureau. The median income for a household with a single mother is $35,400. The median income for a home with a married couple raising their children is $85,300 in the United States. 2/3 of low-income working families with children are in the African American community. U.S. Census Bureau. Over 30% of fatherless homes are classified as being food insecure, yet only 13% of homes will utilize the services of a food pantry. Over 30% of fatherless homes also spend more than half of their income on housing costs, which classifies the household as experiencing a severe housing burden. U.S. Department of Agriculture. In the United States, Mississippi has the highest number of fatherless homes, with 36% of households falling into the category. Louisiana comes in second at 34%, while Alabama is third at 31%. U.S. Census Bureau. Children who live in a fatherless home are 279% more likely to deal drugs or carry firearms for offensive purposes compared to children who live with their fathers. Allen and Lowe. 92% of parents who are currently in prison in the United States are fathers. Glaze and Marshak. Pregnant women who do not have the support of the father experience pregnancy loss at 48% rate. When the father is present, the prevalence of pregnancy loss falls to 22%. That's Shaw, Gee, and Thiel. For single dads, 39% of households had a family income which was $50,000 or more. 44% of single dads were divorced, while only 33% had never married. U.S. Census Bureau. 43% of fathers do not see their role as something that is important to their personal identity. 54% of fathers in the U.S. say that parenting isn't enjoyable all of the time. Pew Research. Even in homes with fathers, the modern dad spends only 8 hours a week on child care, which is 6 hours less than the modern mom. On the other hand, 43% of modern dads' time is spent with paid work compared to 25% of the time for modern mom. Dads are spending 3 times more time with their kids than dads in 1965. Pew Research. Only 5% of households in the United States say that the ideal situation is to have the mother work and the father stay at home to take care of the children. Pew Research. 53% of Americans say that mothers do a better job of parenting than fathers. Only 1% of Americans say that fathers are able to do a better job of parenting than mothers. Pew Research. 7% of adults say it is equally important for a newborn to spend time bonding with their father and their mother. Pew Research. It says here there are some flaws of note within the statistics of fatherless homes. Many statistics studies use marital status as a way to distinguish home with fathers from fatherless homes. To move in the right direction, we must take a realistic approach. Many fathers are out there right now setting a great example for their children, including some who don't live with their children. So, not all these numbers are per se exact, but these are some of the statistics that are out there. But the bottom line is, if you're a father, it's important if you're in your child's life. It's important to have a father in the household. To say that you don't need a man, I can raise my child. It all sounds fine and dandy, but the harm that's being done is harm that you could never imagine that takes years, if it's even repaired. Some of that harm may never be repaired. There's no way to measure how impactful that's going to affect that child when they become a parent and now have to father a child or mother a child. So having both parents in that household is a blessing. We need to get back to the core structure of a family, having a father, having a mother, and believing in God. You got to believe in something beyond man. You got to have something that you value, that has a sense of something that's a higher power. We need to get back to that. Big Kirk 916. Oh! Oh! Oh shit! You caught me hollering at the moon, washing my ass. Go to BigKirk916.com and pick you up some hollering at the moon and wash that funky ass. Stop walking around with a crusty butt, smelly ball sack, and a funky hoo-ha. Big Kirk said wash that ass. Pick you up a t-shirt at FreshOutSeries.com.